Are you absolutely certain this is wise, Admiral? Commander Vax's mandibles clicked in a nervous rhythm, the alien equivalent of wringing one's hands. His multifaceted eyes were fixed on the swirling blue and green sphere dominating the view screen. They've shown no outright aggression toward us yet, Fleet Admiral Oren replied, each of his 6 eyes narrowing as if trying to pierce Earth's atmosphere through sheer suspicion. But look at their orbital presence. In a mere 50 cycles, they've leapt from crude satellites to an entire halo of artificial objects around their planet. That acceleration in capability is troubling. I bit back a laugh. Oren had been convinced the humans were a looming threat from the very moment we intercepted their primitive radio chatter 30 years ago. Every transmission, every launch of a satellite, every unmanned probe in their system was, to him, more proof of an inevitable human expansionist campaign. Never mind the fact they hadn't even returned to their own moon in over half a century. Perhaps I should introduce myself. I'm Senior Science Officer Plex, serving aboard the Galactic Confederation scout vessel Nebula Seeker. And right now, I was watching my superior officers blunder toward what I feared might become the single most disastrous decision in Confederation history. The disruption device is primed and standing by for deployment, Weapons Officer Zarn announced from her console. Her violet-hued skin pulsed faintly in anticipation. Typical military temperament, always eager for the chance to press something destructive into motion. Admiral Oren turned toward me. Final evaluation, Science Officer? I inhaled slowly, steadying my tone. With all due respect, Admiral, my position remains the same. There is no tangible evidence of hostile human intent. Most of their orbital constructs are communications relays, weather monitors, and scientific probes. I strongly advise against initiating this action. The Admiral made that deep, burbling vibration his species used for amusement. Your caution is noted, Plex. But the High Council already sanctioned this demonstration. We will deliver a minor disruption in their orbital field, just enough to scatter some of their satellite. If they truly are peaceful, they'll retreat from space and focus on their own world. And if they're not? I asked quietly. Then, Oren replied with a self-satisfied click, we'll know preemptive measures were justified. Vax's antennae twitched uneasily. Perhaps another solar cycle of observation would be prudent. More data before escalation? Decisions final, Oren snapped. Deploy the device. I sat in silent protest as Zarn's fingers skimmed her controls, sending a slender, metallic pod drifting free from our vessel toward Earth's orbital lanes. The disruption unit was engineered to emit a precise electromagnetic pulse followed by a kinetic wave, like a broom sweeping debris from a corridor, only here the debris was human technology. Device in position. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. A flash of blue rippled across the screen. Waves of energy blossomed outward, and one by one, several human satellites flickered, then died, their systems fried in an instant. Perfect, Oren murmured, mandibles spreading in approval. Now we watch. Our vigil was interrupted by the usually composed voice of Navigation Officer Trell, now tight with alarm. Admiral, multiple orbital bodies are altering trajectory. They've activated thrusters. That's not possible, Oren said sharply, moving to Trell's station. Human satellites don't possess such maneuvering capacity. I joined them, peering at the readouts. My 3 hearts jolted in unison. Those aren't all civilian satellites, I said, my voice dropping. Some are weapons platforms. Oren's exoskeleton seemed to lose its faint luster. Weapons? Nonsense. Our intelligence states. Your intelligence was wrong, Vax interrupted, the pitch of his voice climbing. Those configurations are defensive systems. On the main display, Earth's orbital ring transformed before our eyes. Dormant constructs stirred, panels extending to expose solar arrays. Thrusters flared as they shifted into coordinated formations, and, most telling of all, several structures revealed the distinct silhouette of weapon ports. "They're forming a perimeter grid," Zarn observed, her curiosity now eclipsing her earlier eagerness to destroy. "Protective alignment around the planet." "How many?" the Admiral demanded. Trell's digits danced across his console. "At least 40 active defense platforms. And there's something else." A shadow emerged from behind the moon, vast and deliberate. As it drifted into sunlight, the full shape resolved, a warship unmistakably human, but unlike any publicly acknowledged craft. It dwarfed their old space station by orders of magnitude. "That vessel measures over 300 meters in length," I reported, scanning the object. "Hull composition contains advanced alloys absent from their declared technology base. Energy signatures indicate it's charging directed energy armaments." Oren's mandibles clattered in disbelief. "Impossible. They've barely reached interplanetary capability." "They could not have." "Apparently they could," Vax interrupted, his tone grim. "And they have." "And now," Trell said tightly, "it's heading straight toward us." "They can't possibly detect our position," Admiral Oren insisted. "Our cloak is gone," Zarn cut in, her voice sharp with urgency. "Multiple targeting arrays are sweeping our hull right now. We're lit up like a beacon." I couldn't resist. "Oh, wonderful." We jabbed the sleeping predator and surprise. It's got teeth. Enormous, serrated ones. "This is no time for wit, Plex," the Admiral snapped. "I beg to differ," I replied, leaning back in my chair. "If there was ever a moment for sarcasm, it's when one's imminent demise is the direct result of spectacularly bad judgment." "Incoming hail," Communications Officer Lunny interrupted. "Audio and visual feed. Open frequency." "Put it through," Commander Vax ordered, overriding the Admiral's twitch of protest. The main screen flickered, revealing the image of a human male. He wore what was unmistakably a military uniform, his expression arranged in a controlled, unwavering severity. "Unidentified vessel," the human began. His crude vocal sounds were instantly parsed and translated by our systems. "This is General Thomas Barnes of the Earth Defense Force. You have committed an act of aggression against Earth. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Earth Defense Force? That designation had never appeared in any of our intelligence dossiers. Admiral Oren stepped forward. "This is Fleet Admiral Oren of the Galactic Confederation. Our actions were intended only as a demonstration, no hostility. We meant you no harm." Barnes's expression didn't shift. "You detonated a device in our orbit, disabled 17 civilian satellites, and damaged a weather station. Which part of that would you consider harmless?" "We were merely clearing a section of space," Oren said, and even to my ears it sounded pitiful. The human's lips curved slightly. "In our orbit? Without notice? That's like me strolling into your dwelling and rearranging your furniture because I thought it was messy." I silently conceded the point. "Apt analogy. We were not aware of your defensive readiness," Oren admitted reluctantly. "Our intelligence indicated your species had not yet reached orbital weaponization." Barnes smiled fully then, not warmly, but with the satisfaction of a trap springing shut. "Yes. We put significant effort into maintaining that illusion. And congratulations, Admiral, you are now the first alien commander to encounter Earth's classified space defense fleet. I'm sure that distinction will be a comfort to you in the brig." "Brig?" Oren repeated. "You can't seriously think." "Multiple launches from the human warship," Trell reported over him, voice rising. "They're forming an encirclement. Boarding craft confirmed." "Shields up," the Admiral barked. "We can't," Zarn said flatly. "Our defensive and offensive systems are being jammed. Completely non-functional." Barnes didn't even look impressed. "Your technology is admirable. But we've been planning for first contact for decades. Did you truly believe we wouldn't prepare countermeasures, especially for a hostile scenario?" "Admiral," I said evenly, "I recommend surrender." Oren's mandibles flared. Surrender? To primitives? These primitives have just incapacitated a Confederation warship without a single shot, I pointed out. And they've maintained a covert space armada our intelligence completely missed. That level of capability earns respect, whether you wish to grant it or not. Plex is correct, Vax added, and Tenny lowering in agreement. We've been outmaneuvered. Diplomacy is the only remaining path. The Admiral's exoskeleton rattled in frustration, but he saw the truth in the data. Very well. General Barnes, we yield. However, we demand diplomatic protections under the Galactic Confederation's interspecies protocols. Barnes raised one eyebrow. Interesting that you'd invoke protocols from an organization we don't belong to, right after violating our sovereignty. Still, we are not without civility. Your people will be treated fairly while our governments talk. The channel cut, leaving the bridge cloaked in a tense, ringing silence. Well, I said eventually, this first contact is going splendidly, wouldn't you agree? Plex, Oren growled in warning. No, truly, I continued, unable to stop the words, it's magnificent. We arrived to intimidate a supposedly backward civilization, only to discover they've been quietly building a defense fleet right under our sensors, capable of dismantling our technology without firing a single projectile. If I weren't about to be imprisoned by humans, I'd be drafting my research paper right now. Zarn gave me a narrow look. You're enjoying this. Not enjoying, I corrected. Appreciating the cosmic irony? Absolutely. The deck vibrated beneath us as something latched onto the hull with a deep metallic clang. They're docking, Trell confirmed unnecessarily. Attention all personnel, Vax's voice rang through the intercom. Prepare for boarding. Do not resist. I repeat, do not resist. This is unprecedented, Oren muttered, pacing like a caged predator. Never in our history has a Confederation vessel been captured. No species you're familiar with, perhaps, I said. But considering how flawlessly they've hidden an entire orbital defense network, who's to say what else these humans have tucked away? Before Oren could fire back, a sharp hiss echoed through the bridge, a sound no spacefaring crew wanted to hear. Somewhere nearby, metal was being severed. They're cutting through the hull. Zarn's voice rose as her hand went for her sidearm. Stand down, Commander Vax barked. Weapons down, now. A perfect circle of hull plating dropped onto the deck with a metallic crash, and figures in streamlined, armored suits poured through the breach. Their weapons looked deceptively simple, kinetic launchers, if I had to guess, but they radiated lethal efficiency. Hands up, one of them ordered. Our translators barely had to work for such a basic command. We complied, raising whatever limbs, digits, or appendages we possessed. The intruders fanned out with practiced precision, securing every station on the bridge. Their helmet visors shifted faintly as they scanned us, cataloging species as though we were exhibits in a traveling collection. Bridge secure, one reported into a comm unit. 5 distinct alien types. No fatalities. Through the breach stepped another human, this one in a lighter, less encumbered uniform, without a visible weapon. The insignia and posture told me instantly, higher authority. I am Captain Elena Lopez of the Earth Defense Force Vessel Vigilant, she announced. Which of you commands this ship? Oren moved forward stiffly. Fleet Admiral Oren of the Galactic Confederation. Lopez's gaze stayed level. You're the one who thought detonating an explosive in our orbit was a wise choice? It was not an explosive, Oren countered. Merely a disruption device. A disruption device that exploded, Lopez said without a flicker of expression. Where I come from, we call that a bomb. I couldn't help the laugh that slipped out, drawing a glare from Oren and a sharp look from Lopez. Something amusing? She asked. Only the absurdity of the situation, I replied. Senior Science Officer Plex. I advised against the action, for whatever good that does me now. Smart, she said with the faintest quirk of her lips. Your species. Lorcien, I answered. Renowned for scientific achievement and, forgive me, Admiral, terrible political judgment. Her mouth twitched again, almost a smile. You will all be transferred to the Vigilant. Your ship will be taken to our lunar facility for examination. You'll remain there until our governments make contact. You cannot simply seize a Confederation vessel, Oren protested. You detonated an explosive in our sovereign orbital territory without clearance, Lopez replied coolly. By our protocols, that's an act of war. We are, in fact, being restrained. How long has Earth had a defense force of this scale? I asked, curiosity overriding caution. That's classified, she said evenly. But I can tell you this, we've been watching the stars for a very long time. Preparing. Just in case. In case of what? Vax asked. In case someone did exactly what you just did. Our captors began escorting us toward the breach. Through the viewports, I caught sight of smaller human craft fastening tow lines to our hull, moving with synchronized precision. You know, I said conversationally to Lopez, who walked beside me, most civilizations we encounter react with awe and joy when they learn they're not alone. You humans seem ready. We've been imagining extraterrestrial contact for centuries, she replied after a pause. Not all of our theories were friendly. The cautious voices happened to be right. Seems they were more than right, I said. This time, she agreed, we prepared for every outcome. Including the capture of an alien warship? She glanced sideways at me. Especially that. As we neared the Vigilant, something about its design pulled at my memory. Subtle lines, engineering decisions that felt strangely familiar. Your technology, I began. It's classified, she cut in, but the look in her eyes told me she knew exactly what I'd noticed. I had seen enough to form a troubling hypothesis. Certain structural features were reminiscent of older Confederation craft, not our current designs, but models retired decades ago. The possibility was unsettling. You've encountered the Confederation before, I murmured, low enough for only her to hear. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes flicked to me with sharp interest. I think, she said slowly, that you and I are going to have some very enlightening conversations, Science Officer Plex. A cold realization settled over me. They hadn't been blindsided by our arrival. They had been waiting for something like it. Waiting for us. As we stepped aboard the Vigilant, the airlock doors sealed behind us with a heavy, resonant thud. The interior stopped me in my tracks. Based on the crude, publicly displayed human spacecraft, I'd expected exposed conduits, analog panels, a certain rough utilitarianism. Instead, the corridors were clean-lined and quietly advanced, with a seamless blend of function and efficiency. Nothing flashy, but everything purposeful. Whatever the humans had been doing in secret all these years, they'd clearly mastered more than just weapons. And for the first time since this mission began, I started to wonder if the Confederation had underestimated not just human technology, but human patience. The corridor we walked through was nothing like the crude human spacecraft shown in public broadcasts. Here, the walls were seamless, the lighting shifted automatically to track our movement, and the air carried a faint hum of well-tuned machinery. Impressed? Captain Lopez asked, noting my curious glances. Puzzled, I admitted. This level of refinement, unexpected. 4 primitives? She finished for me, her lips curving into that almost smile again. I never called your species primitives, I countered. That was the Admiral's word, not mine. Behind me, Oren's mandibles clicked irritably. He was restrained with a shimmering energy band that bound his primary limbs, technology I'd never seen outside the Confederation's highest security facilities. Another detail that didn't fit with Earth's supposed technological stage. We were guided into a spacious chamber, clearly a meeting room, one wall dominated by a wide viewport. Earth glowed in the distance, framed by the unnerving sight of our captured vessel being hauled by smaller human craft. Your crew will be separated into secure quarters, Lopez said briskly. You three, Admiral Oren, Commander Vax, and Science Officer Plex, will remain here for preliminary talks. This is an outrage, Oren began, mandibles snapping. The Confederation will not. The Confederation, Lopez interrupted smoothly, sent an armed ship to detonate an explosive device in the orbital territory of a sovereign world, without warning, without contact. Forgive me if I don't let you claim the moral high ground. I hid my smile. I was starting to enjoy her bluntness. The door opened with a hydraulic hiss. General Barnes entered, flanked by two others in uniforms unlike any we'd yet seen. Captain, Barnes greeted Lopez before facing us. I imagine you have questions. We have a few of our own. Let's trade. Vax leaned forward, and Tenny angled toward them. Who are you really? Our intelligence stated humans had barely reached functional orbital flight. Your intelligence knew what we wanted it to know, said the smaller of the two newcomers, a sharp-eyed woman with deep brown skin and a posture that radiated control. Director Amara Patel, Earth Intelligence Division. We've been aware of alien observation for decades. Impossible, Oren scoffed. Our surveillance is undetectable. Patel's smile was like a blade. Is it? Or did we detect it and then feed you exactly what we wanted you to see? The weight of that statement settled heavily in the room. How long have you known of the Confederation? I asked quietly. The older male stepped forward, silver hair framing a weathered but alert face. Dr. Jackson Porter, head of Xenoscience. Officially, we learned of your organization today. Unofficially, he glanced at Barnes, who gave a slight nod. Our first recovery of non-terrestrial technology was in 1947. 1947? Vax echoed. Over 70 of your years? 78, Porter corrected. A Confederation scout crashed in New Mexico. Pilot didn't survive, but the ship was largely intact. I felt my three hearts constrict. The Roswell incident, it was real? You've heard of it? Lopez asked, surprised. It exists in your cultural archives as a conspiracy theory, I explained. Our official record states no vessels were lost in that sector during that period. The official record is wrong, Barnes said flatly. That wreck gave us our first look at faster-than-light drives, artificial gravity, energy weapons. It advanced our research by centuries. Oren's voice was tight. If such an event occurred, recovery teams would have arrived immediately. They did, Patel replied. 3 days too late. By then, the ship had been moved to a secure site. Your people found an empty crater and concluded it was a meteor impact. Porter picked up the thread. Since then, there have been 7 more incidents, some crashes, some brief encounters. Every one added another piece to the puzzle. And each time, Barnes added, we made sure that anyone watching saw exactly what we wanted, a young species inching toward space with no hint of military capability. But why maintain the facade? Vax asked. Why hide your true progress if you knew intelligent life was out there? The humans exchanged glances. Lopez answered first. Because not every visitor we've met has been from the Confederation. A chill rippled through me. You've encountered other species? 3, Patel confirmed. One appeared to be conducting biological sampling, humans included. Another was mapping our resources and defenses. The third, she hesitated. The third tried to establish a covert base on our moon, Barnes finished. His tone was harder now. We removed the threat. You destroyed them? Oren's mandibles slackened. They were given the chance to depart peacefully, Barnes said. They refused. We acted accordingly. The room went silent. The magnitude of what they'd revealed was staggering. Humans had not only identified multiple alien civilizations but had repelled at least one attempt at a foothold. And they'd done it without a whisper of it reaching the rest of the galaxy. So, I ventured, this Earth Defense Force of yours, just how far does it reach? For the first time, Captain Lopez's restrained expression broke into a genuine smile. That, she said, is still classified. But I will tell you this, What you've seen so far accounts for less than 5% of our orbital strength. I let out a low whistle, a human habit I'd adopted after studying their culture. And the Vigilant? This design doesn't match anything in your public records. That's because it's not entirely ours, Dr. Porter replied. It's a hybrid core systems and structure we developed ourselves, integrated with concepts we've acquired over the years. You've been reverse engineering alien technology, I said, the picture becoming clearer, for over 70 years. 78, he corrected again. At last, Admiral Oren found his voice. The Council will never accept this. A pre-FTL species with advanced defenses, built from, his mandibles clicked sharply, confiscated technology? Unthinkable. Not confiscated, General Barnes countered evenly. Recovered. From craft that entered our territory without authorization. Just like yours. The realization struck me hard. You've been waiting for this, I said slowly. You knew, sooner or later, someone would stop observing from a distance and take direct action. You were waiting for an incident you could use to reveal yourselves on your terms. Director Patel didn't bother to hide her agreement. We've been running the scenario for decades. At some point, one of you was going to decide Earth looked vulnerable. We needed to ensure that the first official contact was one we controlled completely. So you let us make the opening move, Vax said grimly, so you could justify your response. Exactly, Lopez said without hesitation. Your orbital demonstration was the perfect trigger. I studied the humans. And now? You've shown us what you can do. The Confederation will send more ships when we don't return. Barnes gave a single, deliberate nod. We're counting on it. That's why you're here at a table instead of locked in a brig. You're going to help us start diplomatic talks with your council. Oren barked a humorless laugh. After you captured our ship? After decades of secretly dismantling our technology? After you violated our sovereignty? Patel shot back. Yes, because the alternative, for everyone, is far less appealing. The view screen on the wall came to life, displaying a familiar star chart, our local sector, except there were additions. These, Barnes indicated several red markers clustered throughout the Sol system, are our defensive platforms. More icons appeared, blue and scattered across nearby star systems. These are forward observation posts. I stared. You've gone beyond your home system? We've had interstellar capability for almost 40 years, Dr. Porter said calmly. 27 nearby systems host unmanned stations. That's impossible, Vax muttered. We'd have detected them? Lopez finished. Like you detected our orbital defenses? Like you detected the Vigilant before we wanted you to? We've designed our platforms specifically to avoid your sensor grid. The magnitude of their accomplishment was staggering. They hadn't merely hidden their progress, they had built it around our detection systems. You don't want open conflict, I guessed, watching Barnes' expression. If you did, you'd have destroyed our ship outright, not boarded it. No, he confirmed, we don't want war. But we will fight one if we have to. What we do want is recognition. Equal standing. Full membership in the Confederation, Patel added, with the rights and protections that come with it. Not as a curious new arrival to be studied, but as an equal partner. Oren's mandibles rattled in agitation. The Council will never grant that. Membership follows a strict progression. New species pass through development protocols before they're admitted. The Council can make exceptions, Vax said quietly. It's happened 3 times in recorded history. 4 civilizations that had something of exceptional value, I added, turning to the humans. You know exactly what leverage you have, don't you? Lopez inclined her head. We do. Your Confederation has been locked in stalemate with the Mantis hegemony for centuries. You can't counter their biological and tactical advantages with your current technology. My eyes widened. That war was deeply classified. If you know about the hegemony— We do, Barnes interrupted. And we have stealth systems your sensors can't detect. We have electronic countermeasures that shut down your ship without a single shot. And we have tracking weapons capable of following targets even during dimensional phase shifts. Oren's anger was already giving way to calculation. All of which you'll trade for membership. In exchange for full status in your confederation, Patel said. And if the council refuses? I asked. Patel's expression was cool, almost bored. Then we make public every detail of your unprovoked strike against Earth, how a supposedly superior warship was neutralized without resistance. We let every species in this sector see exactly how vulnerable the Confederation really is. The silence that followed was heavy, each of us processing what was at stake. The humans had maneuvered us into their game from the first moment, and they'd been playing it for 78 years. And if not, Director Patel added smoothly, we opened separate talks with the hegemony. That landed like a physical blow. Both Admiral Oren and Commander Vax stiffened visibly. The idea of human stealth tech in Mantis Claws was the sort of nightmare scenario that kept Confederation strategists awake for decades. You wouldn't, Oren whispered. Try us, Barnes said, his tone calm but unyielding. I couldn't hold it in any longer. This is genius, I said, leaning forward. Absolutely flawless. You lured us into striking first, revealed enough of your capabilities to make the point without showing the whole arsenal, took our ship intact to demonstrate restraint, and now you're offering the one incentive the Council can't easily refuse. I turned to Oren and Vax, both still looking as if they'd been hit by an asteroid. They've been engineering this for decades, and we walked right into it. Your science officer understands the strategy, Dr. Porter observed approvingly. So what's next? Vax asked. Now, Lopez said crisply, we craft a joint statement. Earth announces the discovery of intelligent extraterrestrial life following an unfortunate misunderstanding in orbit. We declare our interest in joining the galactic community and our willingness to share select technologies with our new allies. And we all politely pretend this was a historic diplomatic breakthrough rather than a catastrophic failure of Confederation intelligence, I added with a grin, earning twin glares from my superiors. In essence, yes, Patel replied, faint amusement flickering at the edges of her mouth. Oren slumped back in his chair. The Council will destroy my career for this. On the contrary, Barnes said, we're prepared to frame you as a visionary, someone who saw Earth's potential and took the initiative to make contact, despite a regrettable initial miscommunication. You do that. Oren's tone carried genuine surprise. Diplomacy is as much about saving face as it is about truth, Patel said. We're not here to humiliate the Confederation. We want integration, not a grudge match. While the humans and my superiors began trading details for the announcement, I found my gaze drawn to the viewport. Earth hung in the darkness, deceptively serene. It still looked like the fragile, half-developed world we'd come to intimidate, but I knew better now. Beneath that appearance was a species that had spotted our surveillance, turned it to their advantage, and fooled an entire interstellar alliance without anyone suspecting a thing. Lopez stepped up beside me. Beautiful, isn't it? Very, I admitted. And far more complicated than I gave it credit for. You don't seem as shaken as your colleagues, she observed. I laughed. I'm a scientist. New data excites me, especially when it proves my old assumptions wrong. And, for the record, I opposed this mission from the start. Being proven right has its own satisfaction. What will you do when you return? She asked. Assuming I'm not stripped of my rank for insubordination? I considered. I'd like to study your innovations more closely. Clearly, you've been solving problems from angles we never considered. We've had to, she said. Without access to the wider galaxy's technology, we've been forced to invent our own solutions. Necessity breeds ingenuity, I agreed. Then, glancing at her, I added, those orbital defense platforms that came online after our device went off, how many are still inactive? Her face stayed neutral, but the corners of her eyes crinkled. That's classified. Of course. I turned back to the planet. But hypothetically, if a species were holding back a significant reserve? Hypothetically, she replied, there could be hundreds more. Some hidden as debris, some stationed in lunar orbit, others parked at Lagrange points. I whistled again. Remind me never to give your planet a real reason to panic. A wise choice, she said lightly. Hypothetically, we have protocols for existential threats that make today's response look like a polite handshake. Before I could pry further, Barnes's voice carried across the room. We have a draft agreement for the announcement. Now, we need to settle which technologies Earth will share initially. The negotiations rolled on, and I found my respect for these humans climbing with each exchange. They were methodical, deliberate, and startlingly well-versed in Confederation political maneuvering. They knew exactly how much to offer to maximize leverage while keeping their trump cards hidden. There's one more matter, Oren said as the session wound down. The Council will insist on sending an assessment team to verify your claims. We anticipated that, Porter replied. We're prepared to stage demonstrations, under controlled conditions. Very controlled, Barnes emphasized. Standard protocol, Vax agreed quickly. Except, Patel corrected, we aren't applying as a new member. We are applying as a full member with founding species parity. Yes, Oren said, already calculating the political angles. Understood. When the final points were settled, Lopez approached me once more. Science Officer Plex, General Barnes has approved your request to tour our lunar research facility before your return. My heart's thudded faster. Then I suspect I'm about to see where you've been keeping the real surprises. Her almost smile returned. You might be right. I blinked. I don't recall making such a request. Lopez's reply was a slow wink, a human gesture I'd learned meant shared understanding. But you were going to, weren't you? A scientist like you, walking away from the chance to see how we've adapted alien technology? Unthinkable. I laughed. You've studied us far more closely than I realized. Just as you've studied us, she countered smoothly. The difference is, we knew we were being watched. 2 days later, our vessel, repaired, resupplied, and still bristling with quiet humiliation, was ready to leave Earth orbit. The diplomatic framework had been signed, the public narrative agreed upon, and the vigilance shadow still lingered in my mind. I stood on the bridge beside Admiral Oren and Commander Vac. None of us had said much since returning from the human ship. The silence had a certain weight to it, something between shame and reluctant respect. The Council will never believe this, Oren said at last, breaking the long quiet. They'll believe the evidence, I replied, gesturing toward the carefully curated data package the humans had given us, proof of capability without revealing the full scale of their power. The only question will be how they explain their failure to see it coming. We were completely outplayed, Vax admitted, by a species we thought was barely capable of holding orbit. It's impressive, I said honestly. They took their isolation and made it into an asset. No standard paths to follow. No reliance on external technology. They built everything from scratch, shaping it to their needs rather than copying someone else's designs. And now they'll have full access to Confederation tech, Oren muttered darkly. Which they'll probably improve on in a decade, I added, far too cheerfully for his liking. Through the viewport, Earth was shrinking into the black. I knew we'd just witnessed something far more significant than a tense political standoff. This wasn't just first contact. It was first contact with a species that had rewritten the rules while we weren't looking. They had taken our arrogance and turned it into armor. They had studied us while we remained blind. They had prepared for us without raising the slightest suspicion. And when the time came, they had beaten us, not with superior firepower, but with patience, planning, and flawless execution. Somewhere down there, hidden among that planet's countless orbits, lay hundreds of silent defense platforms, waiting, watching, and ready. a warning to any who might decide Earth was vulnerable. Orin had been right about one thing from the beginning: humans were dangerous, but not because of the aggression he had imagined. They were dangerous because they were inventive, adaptive, capable of turning every limitation into an advantage. As the helm officer engaged our FTL drive, I made a quiet decision. Once formal relations were established, I would request assignment as Earth's Confederation liaison. Whatever the humans did next, it would ripple across the galaxy, and I had no intention of watching that from a distance. After all, any species that could keep a fully operational space defense network hidden for 78 years, only to unveil it in a perfectly timed display against unsuspecting aliens, was a species worth knowing. Preferably as a partner. Certainly not as an enemy.